Hey Gators and sports fans, get all your Gator talk, news, analysis, and opinions on the PodUp with Matthews in the Morning podcast. Find us on your favorite podcast platform or watch us on Facebook Live between 8 a.m. and 9 a.m. every weekday. PodUp, because we are Gator fans. So say it's great to be a Florida Gator.
Good morning and welcome to a Friday edition of PodUp with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. Large enough to serve you, small enough to carry. It's Football Friday. We're going to be joined shortly here by John Cornell, and then we're joined by Ole Miss Radio Network, SEC Network analyst Richard Cross, talking about the Ole Miss Florida game, and then we'll be joined by former Gator and longtime strength coach Mark Campbell. Let's go ahead and kick it off. Be joined on the Titan MR hotline by John Cornell. Good morning, JC. How are you?
All right, I'm good, man. I'm really excited. It's Friday, day before football, and we have had no rain since Sunday. It is just a tremendous time of year right now, and this is what I think we've all been excited about and waiting for, and I can't wait. I think some of the games tomorrow that will be played, even though there's no traditional rivalry games, it doesn't matter because we're going to see the conference finally get out on the field. We've had some news here recently about other conferences now, of course, moving in. I think it shows that obviously the ACC and the SEC and, of course, the Big 12 showed true leadership in getting this season off the ground and getting it on the field. And eventually these other two conferences would fall in opposite of what they had probably thought would happen when they decided that they weren't going to play, thinking that the rest of the country would just fold and give up. It just happened the opposite way. And now we've got news that the Pac-12 is going to come back in November. We've already heard about the Big Ten. So this is all positive to me, QB, and I think it's a great thing, and I'm really eager to watch it. I can't wait to watch some of these games tomorrow. I just can't wait to see how these new coaches for some of these teams who have had really poor seasons here recently, how they come out with their new groups on opening day for each of them, albeit against very good teams. But Florida's involved in one of those games, and it's going to be fantastic television to watch tomorrow. I can't wait. I might not sleep much tonight, QB. That's how I'm feeling.
We think it's going to be fantastic television. It could be boring as TV. I mean, who knows?
Well, it won't be. Well, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Before we talk college football, we got to talk about news and notes that happened yesterday in sports. The Lakers go up 3-1 over the Nuggets. Nuggets had an opportunity to tie that series, just couldn't make the shots when they needed. Last night in the NFL, which I don't know how many people were watching or many people were watching at all, the Dolphins manhandled the Jaguars last night in Jacksonville. Tonight, hockey kicks off. Like I said, I don't know how many people will be watching that either. But we do have sports going on, and it all kicks off tomorrow with college football with the SEC cranking up. Talking about the other leagues, yes, the Pac-12 is coming back. The Mountain West is coming back. It looks like the MAC's coming back. So pretty much everybody's going to be playing college football here pretty soon, except probably the Ivy League.
Right, and that's that Pac-12 announcement comes with a start date in November and 7 games. So we have that happening in November. We have the Big Ten starting in very late October, basically a month from now, with only 8 games. So I don't know how they're going to angle toward the college football playoffs, if they're even thinking about that. I think right now the idea is to just get the kids out there on the field to see how they can play with the current environment that we are in. But it's better than nothing, and it's certainly something that I think came as a surprise to many in those leagues because they had probably written themselves off back in late August. And then once they started watching these games, once they started seeing the numbers not explode into a situation that would have caused great harm and damage and calamity to the world, they realized that, maybe we overreacted or didn't really look this or think this through properly when we decided to come out with a schedule and then 4 days later cancel the season. So the ACC showed tremendous leadership. John Swofford, he announces they're going to have a season. 24 hours later, here comes the SEC and the Big 12. So this is why I'm encouraged, because I think there's a certain framework out there, a certain state of mind out there that just wants to quit, just wants to bail, just wants to throw in the towel. And there are others out there on just the opposite end of that spectrum that say, no, we can do this. We have to think critically. We have to do something that allows us to make it happen. And that's what the ACC and that's what the SEC and Big 12 decided to do. And that's encouraging to me. That makes me feel like there's hope out there for us because, if the leadership in this world just decides to bail, then what are we going to do about it? So hopefully with all the voices that came out, Trevor Lawrence was the first player who said something. We can get back to normal, some sort of sense of normal. And I think we're going to see that this weekend because I think the SEC schedule tomorrow is going to come off without a hitch. It's going to be fantastic to watch. I think it's going to be more exciting than maybe you think it might be because I think it's going to be a better product with these new coaches. And I think that even though the fans won't be there in mass and the tailgating won't be on campus, although I know there's going to be a lot of tailgating on this campus next week for South Carolina game, not on campus, I should say, but right off campus, literally. I think this is a change of attitude, and this is some optimism that we've been waiting for.
We got a text here on the Titan More hotline. It comes from William. William says there were a number of Dolph fans that watched the beard beat the mustache last night.
Yeah. I mean, look, I think you probably had more eyes watching that than the Lakers and Nuggets in this area, for sure.
Well, in this area, yes.
Yeah. So, so obviously there was something to watch. And, look, I don't know why Jacksonville played so poorly. I mean, they played just awful compared to how they played 4 days ago in Nashville. They played much better there. But give the Dolphins some credit. I really don't know that roster very well. But I'll tell you, Fitzpatrick is going to do a lot of good to Tua, and he's helping Tua learn. And I think the future could be bright in Miami because, my God, they had so many first-round picks and so many, high-round picks. So I think it's or low-round picks. I think it's going to be a good future for the Dolphins if they can put together efforts like that last night. I didn't see that coming.
Well, that's the NFL. The Dolphins play good here and there. The Jags play good here and there. So, it is what it is. So, looking at the games tomorrow, JC, we want to do our picks.
Right.
Because we don't have a whole long time today because we got 3 guests today. You, Cross, and Mark Campbell.
Campbell, sure. Okay.
Are we picking against the spread or are we just picking winners?
Well, why don't we just pick the winners now, and then we'll get a feel for how these teams play. And in a couple
I'm
weeks,
pretty sure we'll have all the same winners.
Well, okay, then let's pick against the spread. You want to do that?
We have to. I mean, that's the only way to make it worthwhile.
Well,
I mean, everybody's going to pick Alabama. Everybody's going to pick Georgia.
Yeah, it's true. That's absolutely true. Well, why did you ask me then if it's that obvious, QB?
Well, I mean, I wanted to hear your answer.
All right. Well, I'm trying to make it easy for you, obviously. So, one of the things I noticed on this board is LSU's a team that's lost 20 players. 14 of those 20 players went to the NFL draft. They have Miles Brennan as a new quarterback, and I just don't know what they're going to show us. So I'm going to start off the picks, Mississippi State getting 16.5, 17 points with Mike Leach and Costello as their new quarterback to cover against LSU.
Well, I agree with that 100%.
All right, I'll put that one down. I'm writing it down, QB.
This is the most athletic and best defense that Mike Leach has ever had as a head coach. Not saying they're going to win a bunch of games in the league, but I think they can give LSU fits in week 1.
Now, you know that Mike Leach, when he started at Washington State, was very, very sketchy. I mean, they lost to teams like Portland State in his first year at Washington State. So, how they respond to him and his system and things like that on game day is a question mark, but I don't think it'll be worse than 16.5 points. So we'll take the points.
Yep. What else the next game?
Okay. Well, the next game I'm looking at is the Tennessee-South Carolina game. And Tennessee is a team with Garantano coming back, had a good finish last year, won their bowl game. South Carolina, I don't really think Helinski's going to start. I think the other kid's going to start. Don't know a thing about South Carolina. I'm going to lay the 3.5 with the Vols at South Carolina.
Well, it's already been confirmed that Colin Hill is starting. He's a transfer from Colorado State. He played for Mike Bobo there. Yeah, even though there's really no home field advantage, just both these teams stink, in my opinion. They're the same exact team. So with all the new crap you got to deal with now, I'm going to lean towards the home team because they're not having to travel. But it's a toss-up. This game, both these teams are the same exact football team.
I like Kentucky getting 7 points, 7.5 at Auburn. They've got some really good running backs at Kentucky. They've got an underrated offensive line, in my opinion. They've got 2 all-SEC linemen in Drake Jackson and Landon Young. Give me the Wildcats over the Auburn Tigers, maybe outright. But I'm definitely going to take the 7.5 points. Kentucky.
Well, everybody in America is picking Kentucky to
go with
cover
Auburn,
the spread, and possibly to win the game.
Yeah,
I'm going to go ahead and
including me.
Well, I said everybody in America. I'm going to be an idiot and do the same until Bo Nix does something.
You just called America idiots. Hey, America, you're all.
Well, you know what they say, JC. When the entire public likes one team, the other team covers. I mean,
so what are you going to do? You're going to take Kentucky.
I'm going to be an idiot, and the only reason I'm doing it is because I'm not sold on Bo Nix at quarterback. And Kentucky, they say Kentucky has one of the best offensive lines in the country.
I think so.
Terry Wilson's coming back. He can run around and make plays. Not a great thrower, but. No, I'm gonna be an idiot like the rest of the public and lean towards the Wildcats.
I'm going to take 2 teams to cover big spreads here in the next 2 games. I'm taking Georgia to cover against Arkansas, the 27, and I like Texas A&M to cover the 30 against Vanderbilt.
I'm gonna agree with you on the Vanderbilt game. I'm gonna lean to the Hogs covering. They're at home. A new coach who coached for Kirby Smart. Georgia has a brand new offense. They're starting DeJuan Mathis at quarterback. Nobody really knows much about him. He's a big dude, though. But so I'm just gonna lean towards the Hogs at home, and Kirby may not want to run it up on his old O-line coach.
I also I think I'm going to take Alabama with 27, laying 27 with Mac Jones and all those playmakers to beat Missouri as well.
Well, I agree with that. Missouri's missing about 25 players due to COVID.
Yeah, they're not going to be able to play. Yeah.
So they're not very good either.
So that brings us to the big game in Oxford at 12 o'clock tomorrow, and the Gators are laying 2 touchdowns. We have a situation where Kyle Pitts is going to be the guy to me that Kyle Trask is going to watch and look for initially. I think Grimes. Do
you think Ole Miss thinks that as well?
I don't know, because even if they think that, I'm not sure it's going to matter, because I don't think they're going to be able to do anything about it. But what I will tell you is this. Last year, Georgia had a lot of problems with these freshman wide receivers. Jake Fromm just couldn't get on the same page. In a way, Kyle Trask is going to have that same situation here at Florida. He's got new guys out there to look for and so forth. I don't know if it's going to come out and Florida's just going to come out and score 21 points in the first 12 minutes of the game. I don't see that happening. I think, like you've said earlier in the week, it should be somewhat tight in the first half. And in that first half, people might get a little anxiety and what have you. Ole Miss may actually take the lead at one point in that first half. But I think as the game goes and as the flow continues, Ole Miss's defense is going to show us how inept they are. So I'm going to take Florida by exactly 14 points to push that game with Mississippi, and I see a 35-21 game.
Yeah, I think Florida's going to it'll start sluggishly, but when you talk about the receivers, JC, they have tons of guys returning, and they are loaded with guys that are redshirted and true freshmen.
Yeah, and redshirted and true freshmen.
Okay, but here's the thing. They lost 4 senior receivers. Not many people have senior receivers. But have you heard of Trayvon Grimes?
Yeah.
Have you heard of Kadarius Toney? Have you heard of Jacob Copeland?
I know this.
Those are guys I'm telling you that you've heard of. You have not heard of the ones that are redshirted, and the best one of all of them is a guy named Xavier Henderson, who chose Florida over Clemson, and he is going to be a superstar. I don't think they miss a beat with the receivers. The key for Florida this year is how does the defensive line play? I am extremely concerned about the defensive line.
Well, and we talked about this earlier in the week. I was mentioning the same thing about the defense on Wednesday's show. That's going to be a big question mark for me. But I don't doubt what you're saying as far as the wide receivers go. I'm just watching for that chemistry to be established at an early point in the season like it is right now. And look, they've been practicing forever, so I wouldn't expect there to be too many problems. I really wouldn't. It's just something about game day, and when you're playing a different team than yourselves, maybe there's a little butterflies going. But once they start hitting each other and start getting into the flow of the game, which may take a quarter or two, I don't think there's going to be any problem of Florida scoring 35 points. I don't see Florida not scoring more than or less than 35 points tomorrow.
Refresh your vehicle and your brand with the vehicle wrap from Wrap Spot. September is your lucky month at Wrap Spot. Mention promo code Shane and receive 13% off your vehicle wrap. Got a Facebook Live comment here brought to you by Meldon Law, where you matter most. Rob says, it's hard to believe Mick Hubert, the voice of the Gators, won't be in Mississippi tomorrow to complete his play-by-play. He and his crew will be right here in Gainesville on the UF campus, bringing us UF Ole Miss on RUF. It's true. Everybody's got to do that.
I know. Well, listen, it's going to be this way until there is a proven and safe, effective vaccine. In my mind, that's the way it's going to be. And we're not going to have any real traveling and any real fan attendance probably until 2021 or at the latter part of this year if we're lucky. And I guess this is just what has to happen. But at the end of the day, you say to yourself, was there a game? Yes, there was a game. And was there a final score? Yes, there was a final score. And that's what we're waiting for. And so with all of that, I agree with the message that was sent here about Mick. It's going to be odd. But, you know, he's got a job to do, and he'll do it fine from wherever he is. And they've been doing it. Everybody's been kind of doing it that way for the most part, I think. So I feel like it's just a small adjustment. But if you want to listen to that instead of watch it on the television, you have that option. I think Florida scores 35 points and wins by 2 touchdowns.
He says there on Facebook Live, he went and he pumped gas this morning, and it cost him $42. He says, I feel like 42 is a good number for the Gators tomorrow.
That's well, you know, that whatever brings your inspiration, my man, whatever brings you inspiration, that must mean he's filling up a truck. So with gas prices so low and a $42 tab, I'm sure he's filling up a Dodge Ram pickup truck.
Possibly. All right, JC, I got the Gators pulling away. What do you think about the FSU-Miami game?
I think Miami's going to win that game rather handily. I think Florida State will be better than they were against Georgia Tech, but I think they've had a lot of issues with their coach, obviously, being out with COVID-19. I think Florida State has just got issues, period.
What is the point spread?
Okay, so the point spread in this game.
That's what we're doing here.
Well, I know. I'm giving you a preview. I mean, I'm giving you a preview, QB. I'll throw the point spread out there at you here in just a minute. It's 11. So
and you're taking Miami?
No, absolutely. I'm taking Miami to win by 14 points.
I'm taking the semis to cover that. I think they're going to come down there and they're going to give great effort. Miami is – see, too many people are looking at what Miami did to Louisville. I'm telling you right now, Louisville was the most unsound defense I've ever seen at the collegiate level. I don't know what they were doing, but I think it's going to be a dogfight. If James Blackman can just play halfway decent, I think Miami's going to win the game, but I think it's going to be close.
Well, I'm not really looking at what they did against Louisville, even though that improvement was obvious. I'm looking at how Florida State played against Georgia Tech. And
you can't look at that. I mean, that was 2 weeks ago.
I get it, but they haven't played since. So, obviously, unlike Miami, they didn't get better last weekend because we don't know how good they are because they didn't play. So I don't think they're going to score many points. I don't think they're going to score many points at all. So you're right. We're going to have differ on this one. I've got 30-14, 30-13 kind of game.
All right. Well, we'll see.
Yeah.
Any other good games out there this week?
Well, I was thinking, QB. I was thinking about.
I got some upsets for you.
Well, okay, throw one at me because I'm going to give you an upset too.
I got watch out for NC State. They're coming off a big win against Wake. They're playing a ranked Virginia Tech team.
Right.
Would not surprise me if NC State doesn't win that game. Watch out for the Troy Trojans traveling to BYU. They're a good football team. I don't think BYU is what everybody thinks because they've only played one game, and that was against that awful Navy team.
Yeah, they were bad. But those are good picks. I'm going to say an upset for me would be watch what maybe West Virginia is capable of doing against Oklahoma State. And now, Oklahoma State looked bad. Oklahoma State could turn it around and maybe show up and really play well. But they're laying 7 points. I would be willing to say that West Virginia covers that and maybe wins that game.
Another team I got on upset alert for their back. Was it last week or 2 weeks ago? I'm not sold on the Iowa State Cyclones.
No,
I just don't. I don't see them. When I watch them, they don't jump out, and nobody impresses me. So I think TCU beats them at home.
Army's playing Cincinnati, and both teams are ranked. So Army's getting 2 touchdowns. That might be something to watch, how Army plays against Cincinnati. I think Army's the best service academy team out there right now currently. So I'll watch that one too. That could be interesting. And I think Oklahoma will have 28 points by the early second quarter against Kansas State and score over 50 and cover that number so easily that they can do it with their eyes closed. So look for Oklahoma. Other than that, it's really, to me, just an all SEC kind of day, frankly. I'm going to watch I'm going to have at some point the 3 televisions, as you know, that we watch here. I will have at least at some point every game. I will have seen every game or a play from every game in the SEC by the end of the day.
All right, JC. Well,
that's it.
Time is running out. Enjoy your weekend, my man, and we'll see you on Monday.
You bet. We'll talk about it then.
At Center State Bank, we put business first. We are the largest community bank in the state of Florida and understand that small businesses need a community business partner that they can rely on. Center State has 5 convenient Alachua County locations to serve you better. Center State Bank, member FDIC. We're going to take a quick time out here. When we come back, we'll be joined by Richard Cross from the SEC Network and the Ole Miss Radio Network, talking Ole Miss and Gators. You're watching and listening to PodUp with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios.
Hey, Gator Nation, this is your former head ball coach, Steve Spurrier. Check out our show, Inside the Huddle with Shane Matthews and Steve Russell, every Tuesday during football season on 8:50 a.m. and 98.1 FM WRUF at 10 o'clock a.m.
We want to take this moment to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our Gridiron sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. GTS Handyman Services, whether you need carpet cleaning or expert painting in Gainesville, they are the team to hire. Meldon Law, where you matter most. Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. Celebration Point Town Center, Center State Bank, Chris Doring Mortgage. Some of our touchdown sponsors are Campus USA Credit Union, The Digital Mortgage Guy, Adams Ribs, Doreen Wiebe Realtor, Caldwell Banker MM Parish, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Davis Gainesville Chevrolet, Miapa Latin Cafe, Rap Spot, Okido America, Gators Dockside, Radware, Style Cuts, Ironwood Golf Course, TB Financial, Meadowbrook Golf Course, Dar Shakow Insurance. Again, thank you for all the great businesses that support the show. Please remember, if you like what we are doing here, thank our sponsors and support the businesses that support us.
Welcome to PodUp with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. We're joined now by our good friend Richard Cross, who works for the SEC Network, ESPN, and also the sideline reporter for the Ole Miss Rebels Radio Network. Good morning, Richard. How are you?
Shane, good morning. What's up?
Not a lot, man. It's game week. I know everybody in Oxford's got to be excited. I just want to get your thoughts real quick. Obviously, Lane Kiffin, it's got to be the talk of the state of Mississippi, he and Mike Leach. Your thoughts on Lane coming to Ole Miss?
Well, hold on though. First off, though, that jersey over your left shoulder in the orange and blue, I can't help but think, that might look good in red or in blue. A Mississippi Gulf Coast boy who decided to go elsewhere. But
you see that helmet right up there with the 26?
I do.
Yep, that's my dad's Ole Miss helmet right there.
I love it. Absolutely love it. That was obviously a good decision for you in the long run. But
yeah, no doubt about it.
Yeah. I think people are excited. There was so much excitement immediately after Lane was hired. So you go back to December and they have the introductory press conference, and we're living in a world where nobody has to wear a mask, and they have 2,500 people show up and fill up one side of the pavilion, the basketball arena, for this introductory press conference. And, everything's exciting. And then the whole deal gets derailed. They don't have a spring practice. They're not really able to build on the momentum. Instead of being able to capitalize on selling a bunch of tickets because you got a new coach, you're limited to 16,000 in the stadium because of 25% capacity. I think for the most part, people, though, are just glad that we've made it to the start of football season, that we've gotten to the starting line. Who knows what it's going to look like? Are we going to get 10 in? Is it going to be 8? Is it going to be 6? Are there going to be interruptions? We don't know. But at least we've made it to the starting line. And now if we can just get to Saturday.
Yep. When you look at the game Saturday, I don't know if they've announced the starting quarterback. I'm sure we're going to see both of them play. John Rice Plumlee, maybe be the fastest guy in the SEC. I don't think people realize how fast he is. Dan Mullen said in a presser on Monday that he's faster than any player on the Florida roster. But do you think Matt Corral and him will split time?
I think you'll see both guys, but I think when you see John Rice Plumlee, it's going to be kind of in a package situation. Like most places, there's been very limited access to practice leading up to the start of this season for a variety of reasons. But all the reports that I've heard and all the people that I've talked to make me believe it's going to be Matt Corral as the starter. And,
wow.
The thing, Shane, that's interesting is it was almost like the people that cover Ole Miss every day are not even remotely surprised. But the people who maybe just kind of follow from a distance and occasionally watch a game have the same reaction that you have, where you just go, wow, I don't know, he's so electric with his feet. He'll be able to throw the football to play quarterback, and he did not do that well, and he did not do that consistently. And here's the thing. So I'm not saying this is you, but a lot of people who've just been like, oh, John Rice Plumlee, that makes no sense. They saw him play twice last year. They saw him against Alabama in his first start where he ran away from Alabama defenders, and nobody does that. And they saw him run for 250 yards against the eventual national champion. And so that's like all there was in terms of, wow, that guy's unbelievable. And yes, with his feet, he is. But it was a struggle to throw the football.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree with that. I just feel like Lane, I think he's so good at scheming and finding weaknesses of the defense that he'll have something up his sleeve. When you look at Ole Miss this year, I really believe Lane's going to be good on offense. He's been good on offense everywhere he's been. The weakness of Ole Miss team is the defense, right? At least we think so.
Yeah, I think so. And specifically within that, I think there are a lot of questions on the defensive line. Ryder Anderson, who is a great-looking defensive end, is going to play as an undersized defensive tackle. They did get some good news when Sam Williams, who is a Montgomery kid, came back to the team. It wasn't an opt-out situation. There was a legal issue where he had some pretty serious charges that were leveled against him. Those charges were ultimately dropped, and he was cleared, and so they brought him back into the program. That's a huge boost for them. I think they're going to be pretty good at linebacker with the combination of Lakia Henry and Jacquez Jones and Momo Sonogo there. I think it's going to be more of a 3-4 look. In terms of cornerbacks, maybe not bad there. I think there's still some questions at safety. But look, I mean, you're only 2 years removed from this Ole Miss defense being historically bad. Like, they were really, really bad. Last year, they were better. They weren't great, but they were better. And I think a ton of credit goes to Mike McIntyre, who was the defensive coordinator a year ago, is now the defensive coordinator for Ryan Silverfield at Memphis. They were organized, and they were in the right place, and it wasn't too complicated, and they looked like they knew what they were supposed to be doing. So that was progress. We'll see if they're able to build on that, because even for a defense that wasn't great a year ago, they lost a couple of anchors in the middle of that defensive line, especially in Benito Jones, who's in the NFL now. So they got their work cut out for them, especially against a pretty experienced offensive line from Florida and some pretty good weapons on that side of the ball.
So Saturday, what needs to happen for Ole Miss to win this game in their nice new powder blue uniforms?
Those are sweet uniforms, by the way.
What are they wearing? What pants are they wearing? I didn't see the pants.
They're going to go all white pants with the powder blue helmets and the powder blue jerseys.
Never worn the powder blue jersey, right?
Yeah.
Ever?
No, that's brand new jersey. First time they've had those. So it's. I think it's going to be a good look. As long as Florida doesn't forget and bring their blue jerseys, that'd be probably too much blue on the field. So, we were talking about this on the radio yesterday, and I think the answer is a lot of things have to go well for Ole Miss to win. A lot of things have to go well for Ole Miss, and they've either got to force or have Florida not play well. Whether that's turnovers or penalties. I kind of think back to the game that Florida opened the season with against Miami a year ago. That was a sloppy football game. It was kind of there for the taking for Miami. They just couldn't take it. If Florida is able to were to come out and play that kind of game and Ole Miss were to look pretty sharp, then, maybe there's a chance. Here's the thing, and this might not be the thing that you would immediately go to. I think Ole Miss has got to be effective in the passing game. So I mentioned John Rice Plumlee a second ago. The issue with Matt Corral has never been arm strength, and it's never been toughness. It's been consistency and decision-making. So he will make, Shane, 2 or 3 or 4 throws in a row that you go, that's an NFL throw. He throws a deep out route where he hits a guy on the outside shoulder, and he's the only guy that could get it. He throws a deep post on a rope, that drops it between a linebacker that's dropping in coverage and a safety that's coming up with a corner on his hip. And you're like, holy cow, did you see that throw? And then the next 2 throws, he airmails one, and then he bounces one 8 yards short of the receiver. You're like, what are you doing, man? It's all so consistency in the passing game. If there are opportunities with deep shots down the field, they've got to connect on those. But they were not a good deep ball team a year ago. And then decision-making. The other thing was, you would see Matt Corral make 2 or 3 perfect reads, and then he would just force something that wasn't there. And I don't know if that was a function of the offense that they were running with Rich Rodriguez, if it was a function of coaching, what it was. But he's got to be consistent. He's got to make better decisions. And for Ole Miss to have a chance, those 2 things absolutely have to happen with Matt Corral on the field.
Last thing for you, Richard. What's the buzz like in Oxford? I mean, usually when Florida doesn't get to Oxford very often, and I know a lot of Gator fans were excited about this trip. I was looking forward to going back, and I mean, I haven't been to Oxford since the days I went every summer to Billy Brewer football camp. I was ready to come back. So, and a lot of our fans are upset they're not going to be able to go. But if I'm not wrong, there's no tailgating in the Grove or anything, right?
Yeah. It's going to be so different. I mean, people are excited that football's back. My wife owns a women's clothing store on the square. She's thankful just for an influx of some people, even though it's only 25% capacity. It's not going to feel the same. It's not going to look the same. There are people surrounding Ole Miss football who go, could we please stop talking about the Grove? Could we focus a little bit more on the football team and a little less on the Grove? But the reality, Shane, is, and I've talked to some people that are connected to Ole Miss but aren't here, and they say you don't realize how big a deal that is to people nationally. And so for our pregame show, we do it from the Grove, kind of on the sidewalk right across the street from the Grove. And it's cool because invariably, every single home game, you will see a random UCLA jersey walk by, or a Michigan jersey, or somebody from Iowa State, or somebody from Rutgers. And you're like, you can't help but ask, did you miss a turn somewhere along the way? And they're like, oh, no, this is our open week. And I've got some buddies, and we do a football trip every year. We've always wanted to come to the Grove. And so that's a calling card for Ole Miss. And not having that on game day is going to be a big deal. I don't know about you. I mean, I love college football, and I'm just glad that we've gotten to this point where we're actually going to get it. And, if we've got to do this for a year, hopefully it's only a year, with limited capacity. I'm thankful that we're not having to wait till Halloween or the week before that, like the Big Ten is, or in this scenario where the Pac-12 doesn't know what they're going to do. I think there were a lot of smart decisions that were made to get us to this point, and so I'm thankful for that. Trying my very dead level best to not focus on the negative and what's not there, and just kind of be excited for what we do have.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Well, Richard, let everybody know how they can listen to you over there in the great state of Mississippi and check you out on the SEC Network and on the sideline for the Ole Miss Radio Network.
Well, Sports Talk Mississippi is on Super Talk Mississippi, the website supertalk.fm. If you want to listen there, you can. All 82 counties in Mississippi. I think it's 12 stations across the state. And then on Saturday, looking forward to it. We'll go on the air at 9 o'clock and then have an 11 o'clock kickoff, and hopefully it's a fun game. I know how Gator fans want it to turn out, know how Ole Miss fans want it to turn out, but for the casual fan, I hope it's a fun way to open the season.
Well, we appreciate taking the time to join us. Be safe out there, man, and enjoy the game.
Yeah, good visiting with you, Shane.
Yep, that's Richard Cross. Join us on the Titan MR Hotline.
This is Shane Matthews. Thank you for listening to PodUp with Matthews in the Morning. You can also check me out on Inside the Huddle with Steve Russell and the head ball coach Steve Spurrier. Tune in every Tuesday during football season on WRUF 98.1 FM, 8:50 a.m. at 10 o'clock in the morning, or find us on your favorite podcast platform. We want to take this moment to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our Gridiron sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. GTS Handyman Services. Whether you need carpet cleaning or expert painting in Gainesville, they are the team to hire. Meldon Law, where you matter most. Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. Celebration Point Town Center, Center State Bank, Chris Doring Mortgage. Some of our touchdown sponsors are Style Cuts, Ironwood Golf Course, TB Financial, Meadowbrook Golf Course, Dar Shakow Insurance, Pomodoro Cafe, Big Mills Cheesesteaks, MB Listing, Cornerstone Financial, McDonald's Gainesville, My IT Masters, Gainesville Neon and Signs, 84 Lumber, Tropical Smoothie, Chick-fil-A on Archer Road, Aver and Smith Personal Injury Attorneys, Orange Theory Fitness, PRP Regeneration Specialist, and Dowling Signs. Again, thank you for all the great businesses that support the show. Please remember, if you like what we are doing here, thank our sponsors and support the businesses that support us.
Welcome back. It's a PodUp with Matthews in the morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. Celebration Points, where the Gators come to celebrate, with premium brands like Bass Pro Shops, Tommy Hilfiger, Hotel Indigo, Nike, Medici's, Regal Cinemas, and coming spring of 2021, the HBC's new restaurant, Spurrier's Gridiron Grill, and Visor's Rooftop Bar. We will see you at Celebration Point, where the Gators come to celebrate. We're going to go now to the Titan MR Hotline, and we're joined by former Gator defensive tackle and longtime strength coach, Mark Campbell. Good morning, Mark. How are you, buddy?
Good morning. I'm good, and good. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. Well, Mark, when I bring all the former athletes on, I like to start back in your younger days. So a lot of people, once you start talking, they may understand. But you were a youngster that grew up in Jamaica, big-time soccer player. Talk a little bit about your soccer game. You had to be much smaller back in those days when you played soccer.
Well, yeah. When I was back in Jamaica, soccer was my sport, Soccer, and I ran track. And I enjoyed it, man. It was fun. Didn't know anything about American football. Never thought of playing American football. As a matter of fact, the first game I ever watched of American football was when the Chicago Bears won the Super Bowl. And, but football was never a thing that I said I'd play, because when I watched it, man, it was just too tough. I'm like, man, these cats run into each other full speed. I'd never played this game. And then I moved to the States in 1987. And, came in ninth grade and watched football. And a bunch of friends of mine started talking about, you should come up for football. I said, man, I'm not playing. Well, lo and behold, they taught me to come in and watch and practice one day. And I tried it. I'm like, okay. The good thing about playing soccer was it was natural for me, because it was, you develop some footwork that you need for football, for the American football. So that helped me out a lot. And I could always run, So, I used to run track as well before I put on over 100 pounds. I was a track guy as well in Jamaica. So everything just kind of played its role and helped me to get into football, and made it a somewhat easy transition. The hardest part for me was adjusting to being hit and hitting somebody, That was the hardest part. But after a while, they lift some weights, and then you realize, oh, good, how much that helps.
So you grew up in Jamaica, you moved to Miami, you play high school ball there. You figure out, hey, I think your high school coach probably said, hey, you got a chance, you can play at the next level, get your education paid for. What other schools besides the University of Florida recruited Mark Campbell?
Well, the funny thing about it, so when I was being recruited by University of Miami, Louisville, Florida A&M, Clemson came towards the end, and the funny thing about it, I was being recruited by Coach Red Anderson, and I was set on going to the University of Miami. I'm a Hurricane man. I'm from Miami. Went to Miami Sunset, so we watch the Hurricanes every weekend. I'm going to Miami. Well, as I'm doing that, Miami started to see how interested I really was with trying to come there. So, that's when the recruiting game started. And so I told, Coach Red was recruiting me, and I told him, I said, Coach, you can stop recruiting me because I'm going to Miami. Well, he stopped calling, but every now and then he would call in to see how I'm doing. Well, Miami started playing these recruiting games, So I called Coach Red. I said, Coach Red, I need to take a trip. And I took a trip to Gainesville, man. He asked me when I want to come. I said, I want to come today. So they figured some stuff out and had me on a flight that same evening. It was a Friday. And as I landed at the airport in Gainesville and stepped on that tarmac, I just knew that Florida was where I was coming. I didn't even see the school yet, but there was an energy that touched me when I got off the plane. And it's hard for some people to understand that, but an energy touched me like this was where I belong, you know. But you know, when I walked around, when I got to Gainesville, I just knew that this was the place I wanted to be.
So when you got to Gainesville, tell us what it was like when you first met Coach Spurrier.
Coach Spurrier. I mean, he never really said much because Coach Red and everybody else was doing the talking. I didn't have the interaction with him as much because I was a defensive player. But you know, he just said, "Hey, he was, you know, good to meet you. You know, I hope that you become a Gator. You know, and we would love to have you here." You know, that's basically at that meeting for me with him. It wasn't nothing really outlandish. You know what I mean?
Okay. So, Mark, you get here. Obviously, you came at a good time. I want to say you were in the same signing class with Warfel, right?
No, Warfel came after me. My class was Kevin Carter, Ellis Johnson, Henry McMillan.
That's right.
Yeah, I was class of '91.
Yeah, you were your senior year was '95. So let's talk about y'all won a bunch of SEC titles. When you look at your career, is there one game that stands out in your mind the most that you have great memories about?
I tell you the game. One of the games that stands out to me is the one I didn't play in, and that was in 19. I think it was Harvey Thomas and Darren Mickle's last game at Florida against Florida State. Just watching that game. That game, actually, I forgot about Tennessee. Tennessee and Florida State of that year were the two games that brought that excitement. Like, this is what college football was all about. When we won the SEC championship with Larry Kennedy against Tennessee, and then when the defense played their butts off against Florida State back in, what was that, 91?
That would have been, it was in 91, my junior year. Yeah, 14-9 game.
Yeah, that was a heck of a defensive game, man. And that game made me really happy to realize how happy I was to be playing for Florida at that time. You know, those two games, man, the defensive games, really enjoyed it. So those are the two. And then after that, just working hard and just eventually becoming a team captain and doing some good things at Florida, helping do some good things at Florida.
Yeah. So Coach Red not only recruited you, but gosh, I'm trying to remember. He coached the D-line too as well, right?
Yeah, he coached D-line, man. He was the one. He was the energy, the intensity guy on staff. That the history of Florida, you can go talk to Coach Red. He knew everything about Florida.
Yeah, Coach Red was always the get hype coach early in Coach Spurrier's career before we run out of the tunnel. Coach would have Coach Red talk a little bit. We're speaking with Mark Campbell, former defensive tackle here on the Titan Tomorrow hotline. So, Mark, your senior year, I want to say your last game in a Gator uniform, played for the national title against the Nebraska Cornhuskers. Do you still have nightmares about that game, my man?
I don't even talk about that game. I don't even talk about that game. I've never watched that game, and I will never watch that game.
Well,
I think that.
Go ahead.
That game hurts me. That game hurts me. That game really hurt. That game really hurt, and I've tried to watch it, and every time I watch it, I got to turn it off. I just can't do it.
Yeah,
that was just the.
Would you say, obviously you haven't gone back and watched the tape, but we all know how great that Nebraska team was, and you've been around college football a long time. Do you think that's the greatest college football team of all time? No. I think where they got us, to be honest with you, Shane, is that they've been to the Big Show many times. They were experienced at being at Big Show, and it was our first time showing up. So I think our preparation could have been different. Players and coaches, nobody's to be blamed, really.
It's just that experience counts when you're at that game. Because talking to some of the guys who played for the national championship the next year, they said they learned so much. We got a butt kick the year before, but they learned so much from that butt kicking that they knew not to do some of the things that they did the next year. And the best teacher is always experience, and that's what happened.
When you look back, because you went on and got drafted, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But you were a part of the Florida football program for a long time as a strength coach. But when you look at the, everybody wants to compare the '96 national championship team to the '06 and the '08, all the three national title teams. Where would you rank that '95 team your senior year? How good were they compared to the national championship teams?
Well, you know that I'm very biased. I'm gonna say that my '95 team would beat all of them. You know what I'm saying? I really believe that. But the thing is that the timing, is that when they came around, it's hard to really judge. But when they came around, that '96 national championship team was special. You had some really good players on that football team. Fast forward that '06 national championship team under Urban Meyer, it was almost like they were possessed, man. Like, they had a head coach that knew when to say what to say, the right things at the right time. It was a master psychologist. You know what I mean? So it's hard to say which team would be better, but obviously I'm going to say my '95 team would have beaten them all.
Yeah. Speaking of Mark Campbell here on the Titan More Hotline, Mark, so you get drafted by the Cardinals, play a couple years in the NFL, and then you come back and you get into being a strength coach. You worked with Rob Glass, you worked with Mickey under Urban. Just what made you want to get into that profession?
Well, I think I don't think I wanted to get into it, to be honest with you, Shane. It's a long story how I did get into it. I was led by God into it. You know what I mean? To be totally honest with you, I was led by God. That's all I can tell you, led by God. And when I got into it, I recognized my purpose. My purpose was to help young people develop, when you're going through things and you help them deal with it. Because as a strength coach, man, you have multiple titles. You're not just helping them to lift weights, which a lot of people think, but you're their teacher, you're their counselor, you're their friend, you're their parent. You're their parent away, parent at school away from home, So there's so much you do as a strength coach to help these young players, man. And you'll be shocked at some of the things that they're going through and a lot of fans only see what's going on Saturdays, but they don't really understand what these kids are going through, So, being a strength coach, man, they come into the weight room to work out, and you're paying attention to them, to their body language, how they carry themselves, what's going on. I have multiple players, man, come in some mornings, man, crying. What's going on? They don't want to tell you, but you got to find a way to break down that barrier for them to share the things that's going on. Some of them didn't eat breakfast, didn't know what, don't have much mom and dad except for divorcing, how to handle it. Some of them have a problem with being with a male figure telling them what to do. So there's so many things that go on as you being a strength coach that you have to pay attention to, helping these kids develop.
Yeah, I think you bring up a great point there that a lot of people don't realize. The strength coaches, you guys are with these kids all year long, whereas their position coaches and their head coach only have a certain period of time they can actually be with the players. So you're exactly right. You're almost like a father figure to all of them. Mark, so you work with a bunch of different head coaches. Can you briefly just tell us what the difference was? We all know Coach Spurrier had his own style compared to Ron Zook and Muschamp and Urban. Was there one that you liked working for the most?
No, I like working with all of them, and I've learned something from each and every one of them. You'll learn what not to do and what to do, and some of those what not to do you keep to yourself. But as far as Urban Meyer, man, was a master, and I said it before, a master psychologist. He just knew what to say, when to say at the right time, and would always pierce your soul, man, make you really want to go out there and not fail. He had that knack for doing that, and that's a gift he has. You can see where whichever team he goes to, man, they always have success just because of the way he goes about getting into the psyche of the player. I compare Coach Muschamp and Coach Zook are very similar, and it's hard to really, they're very similar. That's really what I can give you. They're very energetic, love what they do. basketball mind, great, defensive mind, just great football minds. That's who they are. Coach McElwain, he was laid back, but he was a good person. He was laid back. Now, everybody didn't like the way how things went down, but that's not for me to judge here or there. He was a very laid back coach, and we had a good relationship. And that's all of them, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So,
none of them.
What was the difference? Because pretty much you were a strength coach here at the University of Florida for all those coaches. But then when Coach Muschamp got the job at South Carolina, you went up there for a few years. Tell us, you being a Gator, what was the biggest difference being a strength coach there? Obviously, you had a job to do, but it was a little bit different going from Florida to South Carolina?
Oh, absolutely. So one of the things what I tell a lot of people, and I think a lot of people know it, in the state of Florida, when it comes to football, it's a big deal. It's really a big deal. A lot of these kids play it to use it as a way out of getting out of the hardships that they've gone through through their lives. So they're using football as a way to get to the next level. South Carolina, you have to. I don't see the talent in the state, and I hope I'm not. I don't see the talent in the state as it is in Florida, and I think it's because of the want to desire. It's just a different mindset. Mindset in that state. But I think at South Carolina, you really coaching. You have to coach them up. You really have to coach them up, and it's like the passion, the intensity isn't there as much. Now, not saying that isn't there at all. There's some players there in the state. For what I came across, I can't speak for the state, but what I came across, there's some good players there. But the mentality is just completely different than what it is in Florida. It's a different mentality when it comes to football. No
doubt. Well, Mark, you're now you're helping former Gator Demetric Jackson, who's the head coach at Fort White High School, along with a former teammate of yours, Shay Showers. You enjoying coaching high school ball on Friday nights?
Well, yeah, I'm enjoying it. I think what I enjoy more than anything, man, is like you realize that some of these kids really don't know much about the game of football, that you have to teach them certain things. And you can't really assume that they know. In college you can get away with an assumption because they got to this level, so there's certain things they should know. But on this level, they're basically just starting out. So you have to realize that you have to go from square one, teach them the basic fundamentals first, and never assume anything. That's the number one thing I'm learning. I'm realizing.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Well, Marco, before we let you go, you got a good Coach Spurrier story for us?
Oh, man. Golly. Oh, man. Well, I don't know if you remember this one, but, oh, man. So we had a team meeting my senior year. Me, Johnny Church and I were teammates. My senior year, we're senior captains. And, we're considered the leaders of the team. And so we're in the team meeting, and after it was over, Coach Spurrier says, "Mark, Johnny, I need to talk to you guys." He said, "Mark, Johnny, you guys walk around here like you're not happy to be here. You guys walk by me, you don't want to say anything. Well, I want when you guys see me in the hall and you walk by me, you smile. Because if the other guys see you smile, they'll smile at me too." And we just thought that was hilarious. And I'm trying to hold back from laughing, but that's Coach Spurrier. That's just him being, it's not a big deal, but it was funny at the time,
Yeah, no doubt about it. Well, Mark, we appreciate taking the time to join us here on the Titan MR hotline on my show. Glad you're doing well, my man, and we'll talk to you soon.
I appreciate that. I appreciate it, Shane. Thanks for having me, man.
Yep, that's Mark Campbell joining us on the Titan MR hotline. Really appreciate him taking the time now helping out at Fort White High School with Demetric Jackson and Shay Showers. You got three good guys there helping those young men out, no doubt about it. Really want to thank JC for joining us, obviously Mark Campbell, and also my man Richard Cross from the SEC Network and the Ole Miss Rebel football Radio Network. Today's show is a wrap, brought to you by Rapsot. Stay safe, folks. Enjoy the games this weekend. It should be a lot of fun. Take care.